Okay, hello everyone and welcome to a Voidigo power-up tier list aimed exclusively at High Loop Impossible and Impossible Plus. Now first of all, huge thanks to Pixie on the Voidigo Discord for making the tier list template. It's very helpful, much appreciated. For those who don't know, Voidigo is an incredible roguelike. It's super fun and you should go buy it. It just fully released. They're still actually making more balance changes and content, which is crazy, but yeah, it's a roguelike that's difficult, it's fast, it's got really cool designs. It's just fun. You should play it. Now, as I mentioned earlier, this is aimed at High Loop Impossible and Impossible Plus. By that I mean at least Loop 3 you're planning to go to. Realistically, I've made it to like Loop 21. You could probably make it to Loop 30 or so. I think they're trying to make some loop changes to make it a bit easier, which might even open up the ceiling even more. But yeah, if you're going at least Loop 3, this is relevant to you. If you're not, it might not be as much. I will try to include reasonings behind each of the power-up placements, so hopefully that helps. Even if you're not going for crazy high loops, you'd at least understand the thought process of why something's good looping versus not. But the final result is only going to be useful if you're looping. Now, before I jump into this, there's 5 power-ups at the bottom that I just can't evaluate. The bubble one and the black hole here, I just haven't played around with enough to know if they're good or not. I've only ever had them later on in a run when they're not really as relevant. I don't think the black hole one's good, and I think the bubble one is decent. That's my gut feeling, but without playing with them fairly, how can I really make an assessment? Linear field, homesick, and grenade bullets are all getting reworked. These used to be 3 of the worst power-ups in the game, but with what the devs are doing, people are saying that they're actually quite good now, so it'll be interesting to see. My gut instinct is that linear field will still be terrible for high loops, because it's worse homing, and every power-up that's worse homing has always been bad, except for, the accuracy up. Homesick and grenade I truly just can't evaluate. I have to try the rework out, and I don't want to kill my current run to do it. Okay, as far as the tier descriptions go, we're not going S through F tier. I think Avoid is a much more apt description for the worst tier. There are some really bad power-ups in Voidigo. If you pick up anything in the Avoid tier, odds are your run dies or becomes weaker. Best of the best, on the other hand, these are so good that you would sell your firstborn child for them. There's some crazy good power-ups in Voidigo. So if you see one of these, almost 100% of the time, you would take it over anything in the other tiers, regardless of what your build is. They're just that good. Finally, this tier's barely going to be used, but amazing or terrible depends on your build. There's some power-ups that are game-winningly good in the right build, and just awful in other ones. So, depending on what you're going for, you should consider them. And the first of those is my boy JimBot. It's my favorite power-up in the game. I love this thing. It lets you control your weapons separately. So you actually have to control basically 2 characters. One of them holds the gun, the other one takes damage. Most of your damage sources come out of JimBot. That includes Reload Ring and a few other power-up synergies. There's some that still come from your character. But what having most of your damage linked to a second entity that doesn't take damage accomplishes is it lets you position them around walls and hit enemies without getting yourself in danger. It lets you move them across the map and shoot something over there using your minimap to play. It's crazy what you can do with this thing. It is hard to play with, and once you've learned it, you'll probably never want to go back. The only reason this is amazing or terrible is you can't play melee with JimBot. You can in low loops, but if you're trying to go for high loops, JimBot will kill your run if you're going melee. The reason is your block button is tied to JimBot as well. So, if you press block, normally you deflect bullets around you. Instead, you deflect bullets around JimBot, which isn't very useful. I do think range is superior for high loops anyways, but yeah, just fair warning. If you're going melee, avoid this like the plague, because it'll kill your run. Okay, homing bullets. I had to put this high up on the list, or early in the list, because it's so, so important for every run. You need homing bullets. Homing changes the way your run plays. There's a few key moments where how you play the run has to change. One of those is when you get movement speed. Another one's when you get homing bullets. Homing bullets overrides so many bad power-ups and turns them into actual good ones. You can start shooting things from across the map and your bullets will just lock on. The earlier you get this, the better, because the upgrades are really impactful. With full upgrades, homing bullets becomes crazy, but it's really hard to find upgrades later in a run. So if you happen to get this on loops 0 or 1, you just stop picking up power-ups that aren't movement speed, and you fully upgrade homing bullets as soon as you can. On the other hand, this thing, it's so bad. This thing makes your bullets turn at walls, and part of the reason that's absolutely terrible is that you want rocket bullets to shoot across the room. Like, rocket bullets came out fairly recently, I suppose, but it's run-definingly good. It makes your bullets fly really far, they start bouncing along the room. You can just kill enemies by only playing with your minimap if you have rocket bullets. And this disables that, because now your bullets curve whenever they hit a wall, they don't just bounce back and forth over and over. You really don't want to get this thing, it's just trash, it'll kill your run. Or if it doesn't kill your run, it'll make you, like, infinitely weaker, and you'll just be begging to get rid of it. Now what does kill your run is banned auto-aim. It's like if homing bullets was just incredibly dumb. If you've ever played Gungeon, there's an item called the Crutch there, and it gives you bullets like slight homing. But the problem with having slight homing is that it means you can't lead shots anymore. There's a level of player skill required with leading shots into enemies, but it's always like an important tool to have access to. And the only way you want to get rid of that tool is if you have perfect homing from homing bullets. Banned auto-aim does not accomplish that, it sucks so hard. Your bullets home slightly, you can't lead shots anymore, but they'll still miss, and if there's multiple enemies, they'll just get confused and always miss. It's terrible. You want to avoid this anyways, like even if you're not doing loops, it's one of the worst power-ups in the game. Movement speed. Best of the best, best of the best. Order does matter. Left to right is better to worse. Spider legs are amazing. They give you movement speed always. Movement speed is king in Voidigo. The more movement speed you have, the more effectively you can dodge attacks. So, having spider legs is so important. Same goes with golden feet. These give you movement speed, but only when you're sprinting. However, they do give you more than spider legs. I'd go as far as to say that if you don't have both spider legs and golden feet, by the end of loop 1, you should restart. Like, just kill your run. At least if you're planning to go for high loops, because they become really hard to find in higher loops. The way the rarity system works is that commons just become, like, impossible to get. You basically only get them from emerald caskets and the feed the void thing later. They'll stop appearing in shops, they won't appear from your item bundles. If you don't get these early, you're not upgrading them, because their upgrades are quite rare. So as soon as you get these, just stop picking up items that aren't amazing and prioritize upgrading them to the max as soon as you can. Combo Strike. Some people love this item. I think it's pretty weak. Combo Strike is a lot stronger if you're playing a melee build. If you're playing melee, then you can attack things in the air and then keep combo jumping off of them. Basically makes it so once you've jumped off enemies enough times, you get an explosion. The explosion scales to how many jump combos you've got. It's really quite bad later in a run. Not because it necessarily harms you, but just because it doesn't do enough. The payoff's not really that good for what you have to put in. Early in a run it's fine, but later it just doesn't really do anything. Again, unless you're playing melee. If you're playing melee, just move that up to great in your mind, but it's not very good. Back buckler, also best of the best. I really should have sorted these things better. The back buckler is very important to have. It's one of those best of the best things that you can live without it, but you'll really wish you had it. It puts a shield on your back that you can move around and block bullets with. You can also block melee attacks with it, which is crazy. So, if there's an enemy that's about to lunge at you, you just turn your back to them and it'll block them right off. Same thing with lasers as well. If there's like the Emerald Echidna, whatever you call it, Kino, I don't know. If it starts shooting lasers at you, you turn your back to it and it won't do damage. It's so good. Very high skill cap, because once there's a lot of enemies on the screen, you have to constantly be swinging your back at bullets to deflect them. But the payoff is really big because it lets you not jump. And not jumping means more time to do damage, which means you clear rooms faster. Very, very strong. It also gives you that little safety net when you're about to land into danger, you can turn your back to it, and you'll be fine. Peppers, they're bad. They kinda suck. order's probably poison's slightly better than fire. Ice is the best of them, they're all bad. If you're going a melee build, maybe you make the argument for ice being indecent. But yeah, they just add statuses to your melee, and it's crap compared to bullet lotions. Chalice. Amazing or terrible, it depends on your build. The Chalice lets your bullets pierce enemies. Why is that good? It means you can get rocket bullets, Chalice, and just start shooting across the map, and your bullets will bounce back and forth over and over, and eventually things will die because your bullets keep hitting them repeatedly. You do need rocket bullets and homing. I'd recommend you also have the bullet accelerator, which we'll find later. If you have all of those, the Chalice is stupidly good. Now, why is it potentially bad is that your bullet lotions don't actually apply on the first hits. Like, they only apply when the bullet is expiring. So first, you don't want to upgrade Chalice much. You want to put like 1 or 2 upgrades in it so that your bullets pierce a few times, but not more than that, or else it'll become really bad. You also don't necessarily want to pick it up if you don't have a fully upgraded accelerator, homing bullets, and rocket bullets. I'd recommend just waiting until late in your run. Maybe you're like loop 5, maybe you're at loop 10. Whenever you get all of the components upgraded fully, that's when you pick up the Chalice. Tablet. This thing is hard to rate. It used to be really, really good. It's kind of fallen off. It doesn't do... Well, it does a fair amount of damage early, but boss health scales up pretty hard, and eventually a lot of your damage is going to be coming from your lotion effects. I'd put this, like, decent. It might be great. Maybe great. But it's a low grade if it's great. I think I'm going decent. Tablet does a fair chunk of damage every once in a while, but it's just not necessarily enough. Maybe low grade. Okay, indecisive on that one. It'll hurt bosses, especially earlier in a run, and sometimes it'll just randomly kill an enemy for you, and that's nice. But that's all there is to it. Scope heal things. These things are weird. They make it so that when you jump on an enemy, all of your bullets instantly home in on them. I think it's fine. Like, it doesn't feel great later in a run, but it doesn't feel terrible. It's one of those power-ups that I pick up just for the sake of sacrificing it. But, you know, sometimes it can still be useful. Like, it's better than the peppers. It's either decent or bad. If you're earlier in a run, it's more like decent. If you're later in a run, it's more like bad. I guess since this is geared at high loops only, we'll just put it in bad. But, yeah, if you're early in a run, it's totally fine. And you never feel bad about taking it, it's just... it doesn't really do much for you. Especially once you have homing bullets. The hands, these things are quite good. Like, they do decent damage every once in a while, but the biggest reason you want the hands is because they only need 2 upgrades. So you get them maxed out pretty quickly. Same with the boots, they're basically all the same. It's probably better to have boots than to have hands, but let's just move these around a bit. There we go. And this is the worst. Okay. So yeah, you take them more for their upgrade path than for the items themselves, but they're not bad items. The reason boots are a little bit better is that the hands, sometimes you reload and then the hand effect goes off and it doesn't do anything. Like, it'll do a burst of damage somewhere, but you've cleared out all the enemies, or it's just like 1 enemy left, or whatever, you have to wait for it, right? But with the boots, you're intentionally stomping on an enemy to activate it, so you get a bit more agency in that. Also, Protectus Boot is quite a strong effect. Like, it blocks bullets around you for a while, that's quite good. I think the rocket one's also very, very strong. The other ones are more like decent. Snake is probably better than that. We'll just go in the same kind of order. It's probably frog over bats, actually. Doesn't really matter. I'm not actually too sure how much of a difference there is between crabs and the other ones, but they're fine. Oh, Bomb Boot is also good. Bomb Boot knocks enemies away, but it has quite a large explosion radius and it does quite a lot of damage. It's probably better than Rocket Boots, even. Okay, buttons. Bat button is good. You want buttons That button's actually one of the weaker buttons, but like the fact that it is a button makes it good. I would take it over boots. Not even because it has a decent upgrade path, just because you use a button to jump. That's it. When an enemy is nearby and you feel like you need a little safety net, you just use one of your buttons to get an extra jump. You don't actually want to use them for damage most of the time, you want to save them intentionally to avoid hits. Slippers are terrible. They're just really weak. They're like worse combo strike. They're all very bad. We're just gonna put them down in the bad section if there's more of them. I think there's rat slippers too. Those ones are better. Actually, the rat slippers are like substantially better, but are there any more? Oh yeah, there's soul slippers. There we go. Now are we done? I think so. You don't want to pick them up. They're just bad. You don't want to necessarily use them, and they have bad upgrade paths. They're just not good. But you can sacrifice them at the end of the loop, so that's nice. That bullet lotion, I think it's actually quite bad. Here's the thing about bats, right? They do really low damage, but they have, like, homing. It's a tough one. It doesn't necessarily ruin your bullets, but it makes them slower. I think if you're going for a good build, then you're going for rocket bullets. And then you don't necessarily want bats. I'd probably put these in a void. I don't think it's worth taking them. If you take them, your run probably does get weaker later. Early on, it improves your run, but later on, it weakens it. Beacon Barrage. This thing shoots little orb things out of beacons. Kinda sucks. That's all there is to it. Can I put that there? Excellent. Beacon Break makes time stop when you hit a beacon. It's worse than buttons. I'd probably take it over boots, though. It's around there anyway, so you get the idea. It stops time for a little bit when you hit a beacon. It's not actually a very strong effect, but it can be a safety net. It's fine. Beacon Blender. This thing's interesting. It makes a little sword around your beacons. Early in a run, the sword's damage is just nuts. Like, quite strong. Later in a run, it's still fairly good, and at some point you will pick up a mothership. So, yeah, I'd actually say this is great. Like, the damage is high enough that it's always impactful. The beacon turrets and upgrades in general have just been buffed so much. They used to be really bad, but now they're quite strong. I wouldn't take these over buttons, but this is probably the order I would do. I don't actually like the electric one, though. Most of the beacon turrets are quite strong, so, like, they do pretty good damage. The fire one actually does nuts damage early on. The emerald one and anti-void one get a bunch of bullet synergies. They're basically just, like, strong free damage. And early in a run, that really matters. Later in a run, it still kind of matters. Plus, they have good upgrade paths. Say it's something like this for the order. Lightning is the only one that I think kind of sucks. And the reason for that is not because lightning is a bad status, but because lightning is a great status only when it's on demand. It freezes enemies in place, it slows their animations, and so if you unexpectedly have lightning hitting an enemy, well, suddenly their patterns might change while you're mid-jump. You might just randomly take a hit because of it. I don't think you should pick it up. Beacon Soul, best of the best, it's good. You only get heart drops when you're at 3 or less health. Beacon Soul is basically the biggest exception to that rule. It guarantees you 1 heart, or 2 if you've managed to actually upgrade it, every single time you step on a beacon. So most of your health in a run is going to come from Beacon Soul. Mothership. Amazing or terrible, it depends on your build. It's probably like the lowest of those. Well, no, it's not. Porco Blood is. Or Tomto Blood. Anyways, Mothership makes the beacons follow you. Potentially a very good thing. If you have a bunch of beacon turrets and you have the beacon blender, you can make the beacon follow you into bosses and just shred them. Why is it amazing or terrible? Well, you can't break beacons if they're following you. Now, breaking beacons is actually quite a big source of power-ups, especially early in a run, and it's also a decent source of weapons. So you're choosing to get a bunch of combat power in exchange for up to 3 power-ups and weapons every stage, right? Like, that's a really big sacrifice to make. Now, obviously, not every boss is actually realistically going to stand next to a beacon for you. You might have to wait a really long time and not bother. But early in a run, you don't want to take it. And later in a run, you still might not want to take it if you don't have Beacon Soul or if you accidentally sacrifice it. The easiest way to get Beacon Soul is to break beacons. So, bear in mind, if you don't have Beacon Soul, I would never take the Mothership. Once you have it and a bunch of turrets, you should really consider it. Blastifractor. It's awful. Whenever your explosions trigger, they become a bunch of laser things, and the lasers do get bullet synergies and everything. But the problem is it overrides the explosion itself. I don't know why it does that. You'd think it'd just add lasers to your explosions, but no, it gets rid of the explosion, and in exchange it adds lasers. A lot of the time, the explosion is actually stronger than the lasers, right? If you have a big explosion, it's going to knock things onto the ground so they can't hurt you. It's going to do a bunch of damage. If you have Blastifractor, it's not necessarily knocking them on the ground. And it's not even necessarily doing a lot of damage. Like, if you have a maxed out homing bullets and a bunch of lotions, maybe it will. But it's still not necessarily worth the downside of not slapping things around. So, yeah, it's a void. You just almost never want to pick this up. There's a really rare consideration if you have, like, every lotion including homing maxed, but it's quite rare to get homing maxed. Blossom Bud. Very, very strong companion. It does more damage than it should, really. I'm not sure why I put that high. Blossom Bud is just a strong companion. Like, it does a lot of damage, and like every companion, it'll soak up hits for you. It's one of the best companions in the game. Bone Button. It's a bad button, which makes it a good power-up still because it's button. Cool. Bomb Button. Actually, such a good button that I'd put it in great. Like, this thing is wild. It does so much damage, it has a huge area of effect, it knocks things down. It's definitely better than those. Is it better than Blossom Bud? You can make an argument either way. I think you'd generally rather take Blossom Bud, but maybe you'd want the Bomb Bullet. Tomto Blood. This is really weird. So, when you jump, you just go flying. The controls suck. Like, you can't jump in place. You'll always have a default momentum, which makes you, in my opinion, worse off by taking it almost always. The one time that Tomto Blood will save your run is if you don't get these movement speed power-ups. Let's say you're at, like, loop 3, and you still don't have movement speed power-ups, and you just decided you're not going to restart, you're just going to play it out. Then you should take Tomto Blood, because you need some sort of movement speed, and you can sacrifice it later. You don't keep it, like, super long term, but there are the rare cases where you just don't get offered movement speed, right? It can happen. And until you find it, Tomto Blood is your saving grace. Bounce Lotion. This thing makes your bullets bounce. Amazing. Really bad power-up is what I would say if rocket bullets didn't exist. Oh my god, it's great. What a weird twist. This thing used to suck super hard. There was basically no application for it, but the introduction of rocket bullets has made bounce actually a useful feature. You need to have rocket bullets almost like 100% for this to be useful. You need to have a maxed out accelerator, which I should just place already into like top of grade. Once you have those, Bounce Gel is the next component for the build. If you get all of them, you can just shoot randomly once you enter a room, and your bullets will just clear the room. Like, it's pretty funny to play with. So this is actually useful. Conditionally. Accelerator, which I've placed at the top of grade. It makes your bullets faster and farther. You shoot something, your bullets don't fizzle out as quickly. Why is that important? Because you want them bouncing across the room left and right until they clear everything. So, having this, very good. You can make the argument that rocket bullets are just one build and that it's like not necessarily something you have to build. If you do decide you're just not going to use rocket bullets for some reason, then this goes to like the bottom of bad. It's just bad. But the particle accelerator, or whatever this is called, it stays at high grade. Having longer weapon range is just always a useful feature. So it's a very strong power up. Bright idea. It's a companion. It stuns things every once in a while. Unlike the lightning turret, it's more predictable. You can kind of see where it's going. You'll know it's going to stun someone. It's pretty decent. I probably wouldn't take it over a button. Maybe you would if you have a bunch of buttons. But I would take it over the turrets. Bullet button. It's better than both of these. It just shoots a bunch of bullets everywhere. They get your synergies. Cool. I think this one is the suck in everything. One of these is suck in everything and one of these is orbiting bullets. I'm going to say this is suck in everything and rate it as that. It's really bad. Like, it's atrocious how bad this thing is. You'd take it if you're playing a melee build and you're not planning to go for like crazy high loops. But at some point in the run, it's garbage, right? It pulls in everything. If you're near a boss, it'll pull it towards you, which is actually useful early on to break beacons. But if you don't sacrifice it early, eventually you're pulling 3 bosses towards you, and then you're playing a combo stomp build. You're playing some combo stomp melee build if you take this. So if you know that you're doing a combo stomp melee build, then sure, take it and it's probably good. But if you're doing anything else, then it's awful. Yeah, you should just avoid this most of the time. I'm actually not sure why Dr. Fusion's starting power-ups are so garbage. Like, I guess they're both kind of intended for, I'm not going to loop at all and I'm just going to clear the game. And I guess they're good for that. But let's just go ahead and put this there too. Dr. Fusion's starting power-ups are so horrible for looping. It's hard to even believe that they exist. I don't know why this is a thing. Orbiting bullets makes your bullets orbit around you. It's terrible. I don't know what the upside is later on. I guess early you can hit things consistently if you were going to miss. Maybe with Chalice you hit things multiple times, that's a cool synergy. But you have to get close to enemies to actually do that. So you don't really want to get close to everything. I'm not sure why those are a thing. I guess they're meant for melee builds. Cloudy Dodge. This thing's really good. It's probably better than Backbuckler, I would say. Maybe slightly. You can make an argument for either of these being switched. Cloudy Dodge lets you hold dodge as long as you're pressing it within the first half of your jump, and you can extend your jump. It would be so much better if you could extend your jump at any point, but it's already pretty damn good as it is. Being able to extend your jump just lets you get out of situations that would otherwise cause damage. You want this at some point in your run. Like, it doesn't have to be the first few loops. You don't even have to have it in your first 5 loops. But you do want to have it eventually. Cloudy Arm, I think... Okay, to be fair, it's probably here. But amazing is a stretch, right? If you're building melee, then the Cloudy Arm is decent. It can be, right? It raises the skill cap. You have to move your controller closer to yourself to block. But it's smoother to respond than JimBot is, so you can, like, realistically block consistently with it. The problem with Cloudy Arm is, first of all, you can't play JimBot with this. The controls suck too much if you try. And JimBot's a very strong power-up, where if you're playing ranged, you should probably be taking JimBot anyways. Second of all, the fact that it moves your gun away from your character always isn't necessarily a good thing. Like, sometimes you just want to scroll your camera. The way it controls isn't always optimal. Now, it does have the advantage that your reload ring you can more consistently place into enemies using this, but yeah, I just wouldn't take it. I think, unless you're playing melee. If you're playing melee, you can make a good case for this, but if you're playing ranged, like, JimBot's just better. I don't know why you would take it if you're playing ranged. I can't think of a good upside. Coffee! It's bad. Coffee randomly throws a coffee cup that does a significant amount of damage. It actually does quite a bit. But the problem is randomly. Yeah, if you happen to try to jump on something and your coffee just lands on them, it can knock them out of your way, and then you just land on the ground and get hit. It's pretty rare for it to happen, but like maybe every few loops you'll have one instance where coffee will get you hit. Something that gets you hit has to have a hell of an upside if it's going to be worth it. Coffee does not. Your buttons follow you. This thing is sweet. It's so good. It makes buttons go to you from anywhere in the map. One of the only downsides to buttons before is that you had to, like, position yourself around them. Wherever your button spawned, that's where you had to fight. No longer the case. It's a very, very strong power-up. Your buttons following you means you just always have a safety net. It's good. You should use it. Isopod, wowie, you could make the case for it being anywhere here depending on how greedy you want to be, but I think it lands here. You would take it over Beacon Soul, because Beacon Soul is easier to get. You would probably not take it over homing even though it's amazing. Isopod steals 1 to 3 items from a shop every time you enter the shop. I think if you get the Isopod offered to you really, really early, then yeah, it's better than this. But, maybe it's still better? I'm not sure. Homing bullets enables a lot of builds, Isopod enables a lot of economy. And Voidigo, at its core for high loops, is not necessarily just a bullet hell game, it's an economy game. You're trying to min-max how many items and upgrades you get. Isopod really lets you do that effectively. You could really make an argument for it being over homing, but it's quite hard to get ultra rares now. They've added more items to the pool that are repeatable, so you can't just drain the item pool and guarantee ultra rares. But you can more consistently get Isopod, so I think it falls here. It's one of the best power-ups in the game anyways. You can make your case for it being the best power-up in the game. But it's easier to get in high loops than these are, so I would take them over it. And sorry, I'm just a little sick right now, so I hope my voice doesn't sound too weird. Bat Lady, pretty good. It's a solid companion. It's not as good as Blossom Bud. It's not as good as the Bomb Button. It's probably better than Protectus Boot, though. Maybe. You can make an argument either way. I'd put it here, though. Rat Lady is just worse Bat Lady. They're both good. Or better Bat Lady, depending on what you prefer. I don't know. They're both the same. Freeze Bullet Lotion. I think this is our first real bullet lotion. Freeze bullets are quite strong. I would take it above these. I would take it above Bomb. I would probably take it above Blossom Bud. I think that's where it ends. Freezing enemies is powerful. Like, it slows everything. It slows their attacks. It slows their movement. It makes them easier to manage for free. Crystal impacts. These are weird. The description makes no sense. It says that your impacts trigger explosions. Nobody knows what the hell that means to this day. Like, it's just a mystery of time. Well, okay. People know what it means, but only by repeated use. It's basically your heavy hits. It doesn't even mean explosions. You would think your impacts means your explosions. It doesn't. So if you hit like a heavy melee hit, or if you hit a bunch of shotgun shots or something, I don't know, and you've got bullet lotions, it might just randomly trigger some crystal. The crystals do break walls, which is useful. JimBot also breaks walls, so you already have that ability, but if you don't take JimBot, crystals offers that. It does surprisingly decent damage when upgraded a bunch, but you really need to upgrade it a bunch for it to be good. I think it's not bad, actually. I would probably take buttons over it, but I'd probably take it over Bright Idea. Echo Blade, it's probably one that I shouldn't rate, actually. I don't think I have enough experience with this to know just how impactful it is, so we'll put that to the bottom. Lightning Button, okay, where does that go? Probably there. I don't think it's as good as Bullet Button. I think it's better than Bat Button. That about sums it up. Oh, there was another boot. This one is Emeralds. It shoots lasers. Very cool. Is it better than Snakes? Sure. They're both the same. Emerald Button. It's basically a better Bullet Button. I'd put that right there. It's a good power-up. Shielding. Okay, another powerful power-up. This one makes any blocks that you do shoot a laser. Now, you might find it strange that I'm rating this highly considering I basically don't play melee, but it counts back buckler blocks, which is like really strong because your back buckler is going to be blocking a lot of shots later on. So every time you block something, it shoots out a laser, and those lasers do get your synergies. So once you have like Snake or Rocket or Homing, the lasers can actually be pretty impactful. Um, I wouldn't take it over Bomb Button. I'm not sure I would take it over those either, but I'd take it over those boots. You do need backbuckler or melee build for this to be good though. Like if you don't have a backbuckler and you're playing ranged, then don't bother taking it yet. Fire Button. It's about that. It's fine. Ice Symbol. This thing's pretty good. When you run, it makes a little trail of ice that freezes enemies behind you. There's a few particular enemies, like the ones that follow you with melee, that this is quite good against. Would I take it over Bomb Button? No, I wouldn't. But I'd take it over those. Frog Bullets. These are pretty strong bullets. They make your bullets hop around a little bit and then do a little explosion. It's a lot of damage. I would take it over Ice Symbol. Would I take it over Bomb? No, I wouldn't. It's probably going to be the cutoff for a lot of power-ups, really. Frog Button, similar to lasers. Put them either way. Yeah, put that there. I don't think it matters. Companion heal thing. This sounds like garbage, but it's actually not terrible. It makes it so that when you pick up a health container, your companions heal a bit. You will get 3 health jars a stage. Sometimes you'll get 13 because of a certain power-up. Oh, I just realized we don't have those here. Oh, that's a shame. Okay, anyways, we'll figure that out later. I wouldn't take it over any companion, but I'll put it there. I think it's fine. Ice Soul, the second best jumpy thingy. It's quite good. It's better than Ice Symbol. Is it better than Bomb Button? Yeah, it probably is. Better than that. Cool. When you jump on things, it freezes them. That's it. That's all it does. That's all it needs to do. Gloptolisk. Is it as good as the rat people and bat people? I don't think so. Is it as good as buttons? Probably not, actually. We'll put it there. Gorilla Essence. When you run at things, they get knocked back. Amazing. Where do we put that? It's a little hard to say because it depends on what you've got at the time. Now, running at things to knock them down is useful against a couple of void enemies if you don't have Hurricane Soul. I think a good run would include Hurricane Soul, so it's like, it's fine. I would take it above buttons. I probably wouldn't take it above that unless I didn't have Hurricane Soul. So, let's just put it there. It's like high decent. This thing summons little spirits that stun dudes, it's fine. It's probably a build on par with the lightning one. Great. Your buttons suck things in. I am pretty sure this is terrible. I don't know exactly what benefit there is to this, but I do know that it can be annoying with positioning enemies. So I just would recommend not taking it in high loops. When you have a billion buttons, this gets very annoying. I'd say it's a void. Companion health, actually very good. Having more health on your companions is a strong feature. It's a lot of health. Think of it like getting an upgrade for every single one of your companions all at once. And at some point in a run, you've got like 8 or 9 companions. So that's pretty big. It's definitely great. Health Jar Garbage Edition. It's garbage. Is it worse than that? Yes, okay. Is it worse than heals? Probably. Health Jar Garbage Edition makes it so that when you pick up a health jar, it makes like explosions. And it sucks, because you don't get health jars. You get 3, and they're from killing the bosses. So by the time you actually would get health jars, it doesn't matter. The only exception is they've added some power-up that gives you like 5 or 10 health jars, and then maybe, if that happens to spawn in a room that has the bosses, then it's good. But that's about it. It's pretty weak. Heavyweight Bacteria. You knock back stuff further, it's really terrible. It's really, really, really bad. Knocking stuff back extra far doesn't necessarily help you, but it sure can harm you. This is also the case with the ranged one. It just makes rooms take longer to clear, and it doesn't really do much for you. Amazing. Reload Hand. This is very, very strong. I think Reload Hand is like one of the cornerstones of a great build. It's definitely above the button thing. It might be above the projectile accelerator. It might not be. I don't really know. The difference is the reload hand is harder to get. Like, it's a common, and commons are very rare, as counterintuitive as that sounds. Is it best of the best? It could be. Maybe it is. Sure. Reload hand's very strong. I think if reload hand's best of the best, then this also has to be, actually. But yeah, it makes you reload faster. That's it. That's all it has to do. Reloading faster is so powerful. Ammo belt. You get more max ammo. Extremely useful for not being annoyed. The enemies get really tanky later on, or at least the bosses do. And having more ammo means you can actually have more fun. Wow, instead of having to occasionally walk up and slap enemies for them to drop ammo, which is a terrible time that no one likes. Yeah, I'd take it over ice bullets. Yeah, I'd take it over that too. It's good. It's not even good because it's actually strong. It's just good because it makes the game less annoying to play. So you do want this and you do want to upgrade it. Hurricane Soul. Super duper super good. Was it better than Cloudy Dodge? Yeah, it is. Hurricane Soul knocks down enemies when you jump on them. That's really good because Voidlings teleport away when you jump on them unless you have Hurricane Soul. Being able to knock down Voidlings lets you get so much more space to navigate in an arena. You just jump on something, it knocks down everyone around it, and then you just shoot them. Cool. Glitchy bullets, I think, is what this one is. Is it, or is that... Oh. I think this is glitch bullets. And if this is glitch bullets, then it's a void. Glitch bullets makes it so when your bullets hit a wall or an enemy or something, they like glitch back a little bit. The problem is with lobbing projectiles, they'll hit a wall, and then normally they would bounce over the wall, but instead they go backwards, and then they bounce again, and they hit the wall again, and they just keep repeating that and do nothing. So it's just bad. I'm not actually sure what this one is, if this is glitch bullets. I don't remember that. I'm gonna go ahead and not rate that for now. Ice button. No surprise, it's good, right? Like, you kind of expected this by now, right? Great. Is it better than those? Yeah, it is. Is it better than Emerald Shield? Probably not. Let's put it there. Fire bullets. It's free damage. Your bullets just sometimes light things on fire. That's pretty strong. Great. Go ahead and put it all the way up here. It's better than frogs. Fire icon. When you run, you burn things. These are questionable. It doesn't actually do that much damage. Like, it's pretty weak, right? But the thing is, if you get it with the poison icon, you make a trail of explosions that do no damage, and they'll lag your game a lot. I'm running the game on a 3090. Like, it's a pretty strong system, and this will still lag the game together. So I don't even know how to rate this, because you only want to pick up one of them. Let's just go ahead and put them in bad, just because they'll lag your game and they don't really do anything for you. We'll put the fire one in bad. Let's say you take the poison one because it's cooler. There you go. It's better than coffee, though. I should put these together, actually. Let's be real. They don't really do anything. They just, like, barely do any damage, and then they lag your game, and whatever. We'll just stick them both there. Just don't pick them up. Or if you do, only pick one up. Go in with that understanding. Kindred Contact, I think is what this one's called. When you're near a beacon, you attack faster. It's fine. I mean, if you have the mothership, it's actually fairly good. I think it's probably worse than the blender, but it's still free damage. Okay. Live studio audience. It's a companion where all it does is be beefy and distract enemies, and that's a good thing. But it doesn't actually do that much damage. It used to. I'd take it over the Rat Lady and the Bat Lady. Like, having a bit more health in exchange for not doing damage is fine. This thing, Martial Arts Manual, it makes you attack faster if you're playing as melee. If you are playing as melee, this is incredible. It's never terrible. So, like, I think you just always put this in best of the best. But if you're playing as ranged, obviously it's not actually best of the best. Just go in with the understanding that both the Ghost Boy and the Martial Arts Manual, depending on your build, are critical. You really want those. This goes better or worse than Accelerator. I think Accelerator is more important. But the Ghost is more fun. Put the ghost above it for that reason. This one I'm gonna go ahead and not rate as well. It's just like the Echo Blade, I just don't know exactly how much damage it does. Orb bullets. Avoid. They're bad. They're really buggy. They make it so your bullets have a delay, and then after that delay they become homing. Now if you have homing bullets anyways, which you will at some point in your run, this does nothing good for you and it's exclusively detrimental. In fact, it's so detrimental that I would put it below the auto aim. It's just a worse auto aim, which is already a terrible power up. Ornate handle thingy. It makes your melee break walls. It's good. It's better than the tablet. Pause button. Super, super strong. It's like better than bomb button. It's wicked good. Is it better than that? Yeah, it is. It's like high grade. Pause button makes time stop for a while when you press it. The reason that's so much better than the beacons stopping time is that you really get to choose when you do it. The beacons are going to just break anyways. The pause button, you decide the activation time. So when it's most beneficial to you, you can just stop everything. It's so good. Pinchy thing, it's pretty worthless, I think. I don't know. Your buttons do like a little bit of damage to enemies. I don't even know if that's good. I'm just gonna put that in bad. It's such a low amount of damage from what I've seen. Or at least if it's good damage, then it's inconsistent. Like, you don't ever see this being worth anything. Maybe it's better in not loops, I'm not sure. It's probably worse than that. Poison button. It's fine. It's just good, but... Poison bullets. Also good. You get poison and fire, and snake bullets, and you'll start making explosions that do a ton of damage. You really want to get both of these. Oh, Pollen Dash. This thing, it used to be good. It was, at one point. Now, kinda sucks. Pollen Dash is like a bonus dash ability you can choose to activate. The problem is it doesn't preserve your momentum. So, the cases where that's useful later in a run are actually quite rare. Really the only like nice thing about it is that when you fully upgrade it, it also breaks walls. But even that's kind of buggy. If it preserved your momentum still, Pollen Dash would easily be best of the best, but it doesn't. I'll put it in like decent, it's fine. You'd take it over this, you'd take it over that. Would I take it over a button though? Probably not. Grenade. It's fine. Just does damage. But it's not much damage, and it's really hard to hit things with. I think it's worse than combo stun. I'm just gonna put it in bad. It's not consistent damage, but it's fine. Early in a run, this is way better. Early in a run, this is like decent. But later in a run, it pretty much does nothing. So we'll just stick it here. You could put it here. Either way's fine. Protectus. Awesome companion. Is he better than Blossom Bud? Hell yeah, he is. Protectus just protects you. He sometimes raises his shields and deflects bullets, and then that's it. It's really good. Deflecting bullets is just always a safe bet, which is also why Protectus Lotion, very good too. Put that above there. Maybe even above pause button. Cool. This makes your block effects last longer, I believe. It's fine, it's not amazing, but it's not bad. Maybe I made a mistake by putting tablet in grade. Either way. It extends your block effects, so Protectus lasts longer. It's nice. The thing that it doesn't really extend is... Or does it extend Shot Flipper? I actually don't know about that. Anyways, Protector Heart. When you get hit, you reflect. This sounds on paper terrible, at least to me. Because a lot of things are impossible when you get hit, you instantly hit the damage threshold. The thing is though, there's some enemies, like the shotgunners, that just have a lot of really small hits, and if you have the heart against those, you'll just take one of the hits and then the rest reflect. So it reduces the damage you take from some enemies. It's not the worst. It's better than this. I probably would take Kindred Contact over it. But it is actually like a useful power-up, amazingly enough. Protectus Hand is the best of the hands. It just makes a little zone that reflects stuff. Would I put it above the heart? Probably not. Oh, proximity mines. When your bullet or when your buttons get near stuff, they explode. It's real bad. Do we put it there? We put it there. Okay. Yeah, the reason it's bad is like you want your buttons to explode when you jump on them because you're not using your buttons for their effects, you're using them for an extra jump. And then their effects are like an added bonus. Sometimes you just won't get the extra jump with this. That sucks. This is a weird one. This pumpkin guy, in theory, he's really good. Because he jumps around and he knocks enemies around and it's just good. Like he knocks them over, he does a lot of damage, he basically doesn't die because he's always jumping. Here is the problem. His jumps, they count as jumps. Like, they count as player jumps. So he'll activate your stuff. He'll go around stomping on your crap. He'll activate beacons, he'll jump on the cell guy that you have to feed. It's not worth the upside. As weird as that is. So, like, I think I have him in my current run, and it's like Loop 9 Impossible Plus. And it's fine. But I wish I didn't have him. I'm trying to sacrifice him. It's just not worth it. Like, he's a strong companion, but nah. Fire Soul. It's free damage when you jump on stuff. Kinda sucks. Rat Lotion. It's really bad. Rat Lotion is good early in a run. So, the earlier you are in a run, the better Rat Lotion is. Late game, though, Rat Lotion really falls off because it slows your bullets down a lot. And you don't want to be slowing your bullets down for nothing. It also slows down the damage. So, like, when your bullets hit an enemy, they'll do damage over time instead of doing it all at once, and that can be a problem later. So, yeah, if this wasn't a loop only tier list, then it would be great, but it is, so it's terrible. Rat button, it's a button. Cool, it doesn't stun. It's probably about there. I know, it's probably with bats. Rats or bats, which one's better? I don't really care. I'd say rats are better for the button, though. Rat loot. This is another weird one where if you're playing low loops, this item actually kind of sucks. But then when you're playing high loops, this item's really good. Because you shoot things across the map, and then it blows up all the destructibles, and then those summon rats and they kill everything. It's just good. It's probably not best of the best. Be like high great though. Would I take it over a pause button? I don't know. Would I take it over bandolier? I don't know. I would take it over moving buttons, so I'll put it there. It's really, really good in high loops. Like, I know that sounds weird. But it's one of those power-ups where you would trade a max health for it. Rat hand, on the other hand, not as good. We'll put it just around here. Cool. Rocket bullets. You've heard me talk about these so much. It's very important. Would I take it over Beacon Soul? Yeah, I would. Would I take it over Isopod? No. Rocket bullets, you'll get them eventually in your run, and they will change how you play the game. Makes your bullets fly all over the place after a short delay, and then they bounce and they blow stuff up, and they're great. You need rocket bullets. Rumble Ray. Actually pretty good. If you're playing a melee build, this makes your melee shoot out little lasers. The lasers do get your bullet synergies. So it's like one of those things that kind of enables a melee build, but not really because the lasers are still kind of weak. Would I take it over companion health? Well, actually, I probably would take it over the health thing. The thing is, like, sometimes you have to just use whatever weapons the game gives you. And so, if you're sacrificing weapons for power-ups constantly, there will be a time where you're just stuck with 2 melee weapons, right? Like, you're going to have to at some point. That's when this comes in handy. I'd probably take it over companion health. Shock icon. It's good. It's like the freeze icon. It's just pretty good. Probably wouldn't take it over those, though. Freeze is a stronger status than shock, so there we go. Shot flipper, super duper good. It's so good. It's maybe better than protect lotion, I don't know. Makes stuff reflect when you jump on it. That's all it does, that's all it needs to do. Very cool. Snake bullets. Very good. They're really, 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 really high damage bullet lotion. It's like higher bullet damage than the poison or the fire. They're just great. They cause explosions. They do a bunch of damage. I'd take it over Ice Soul. I wouldn't take it over Ice Bullets. Snake Button. It's a button. Does damage. Does more than the poison one. Probably does enough to justify taking it over the stuns, too. Would I put it over Emerald? No, Emerald has better range. Spirit Insurance. It's an extra life. Is that best of the best? Maybe? Depends. If you have Beacon Soul, like, you probably don't need this. You're probably not going to die. But it's nice to have the option to not die, you know? Basically, Spirit Insurance I wouldn't take over any of the things above it, but I would take it over, like, Shot Flipper. It's one extra life. You can only ever get 3 of these in a run, though. That's the only power-up that behaves like that. If you ever pick up 3 Spirit Insurances, you can never get another until your run dies. So just keep that in mind, too. Stable Stature. You don't get knocked back from stuff. Okay. We're around there. Yeah, not being knocked back is nice. Another melee power-up. Another one that I just really don't know how to rate properly. I should even just remove all the melee ones. Let's just get rid of them while I'm at it. Take them out. Let it be known that I don't play melee. Unless I really have to. The wall break one I'm keeping there, though. I think that's still really good always. Actually, Rumble Ray I should keep too, then. Great. Thermite Contract. It's super nice to have. It breaks walls when you shoot them. I would actually take it over Ice Bullets. Termite Contract is very, very strong. Not because it's actually damaging things unless you have spiders, but because it just clears the map and then you get to run wherever you want. It's nice. Anti-Curse, best of the best. It's great. Whenever you jump, it shoots a laser. The laser will get your bullet modifiers, so you get your rocket bullets, you get your homing bullets, and then you put a bunch of bullet lotions and they'll murder everything. You can just jump in place in the solar challenges and then the room will clear itself. It's cool. Shock Soul, it's like worse Ice Soul. Great. How much worse is it than Ice Soul? It's worse enough that I wouldn't take it over those, I wouldn't take it over that. Probably there. Token. Super good item. This makes the shops cost 10% less. If you upgrade it, it can go as far as 30%, although it's quite hard to get it upgraded if you don't get it early. Would I take it over Hurricane Soul? Probably not. Just because Hurricane Soul is so hard to get. But it's very good. It's one of the best power-ups in the game. It lets you econ very effectively. Very strong. Poison Jump, it's wherever Fire Jump is. They're the same. Trap Dodger, whenever you jump, there's little spikes that come out. They do try to aim for enemies. It's fine. It's free damage. It's better than Combo Jump. Cool. This thing makes beacons shoot out projectiles. It's better than the beacon orb thingy, because they're lasers, so they go farther. It's probably right up there with the turrets. Somewhere in the middle. Probably about there. I think that's fair. Void Lotion. Whenever your bullets hit things, they just, like, bounce back. Or when they hit the end of their range, it's one of those. It's quite strong. Unlike the glitch bullets, this happens at the end of your bullets, so it's not every time they hit a wall. Having void bullets is powerful, but it's not mandatory. I would take it over pause button, I wouldn't take it over the flippy stuff. Void button, another good button. It's all there is to it. It's just a good button. It's probably better than, well, let's be real, it's better than that. I think that's fair. I'm just gonna rate the rocket bullet, her button at the same time. Like, it's just good. It's better than the void button. That's all there is to it. It's worse than the bomb one, though. How much worse is it? I take it around here. Maybe there. It's better than ice. Yeah, it's better than ice. Okay. Void hand, strong hand. It's all. Lightning bullets. These are very strong. Just like the freeze ones, they incapacitate enemies when you shoot them. Unlike most sources of freeze versus lightning, though, I would argue that these are better. Because you'll shock more consistently before the enemies die. The freeze takes time to build up. Wall spiders. When you break a wall, there's spiders. Wow. It's actually pretty good damage. They do a fair amount. Especially when you get your termite contracts, you just start blowing stuff up. It's nice. Water icon. This thing's really bad. I don't know if it's like just bad or a void, but it's kind of garbage. I don't know why you'd want this thing. It's worse than fire. Water bullets. This is a void. This is just like really weak, right? It's it's a synergy item that does make your shock and freeze better, but I'm pretty sure it just gets rid of fire. Like, I think when you have both of them together, they just fizzle each other out, and you want fire for explosions, so you don't want water. It's the same. I mean, you just don't want it. It's whatever. Um, this is an interesting one, the accuracy optimizer. So if you have fully upgraded homing, you don't need it. If you don't have fully upgraded homing and you get this early and you fully upgrade it, it actually gives your shots partial homing, but like better than it's better than the anti-aim one or auto-aim. They also give your shots perfect accuracy. It's quite an interesting item. Um, I don't think it's actually bad. I would take it over these. I don't know that I'd take it over a hand though. It's stronger earlier, and the closer you get to fully upgraded homing, the less you need this. I think something like this is fair. Clip size. It's amazing. You want clip size. Clip size is very strong. There's some weapons that only have one-shot clips. The clip size tends to make them have ludicrous firing speed. So like, let's say you make your one-shot clip gun a 5-shot. You can just hold the trigger, and most of the time, all 5 of those shots just happen instantly. I don't know why that's the case, but it's just generally how it works. Reload ring. It's insane. It's so strong. I would take it over Beacon Soul. A reload ring is like the cornerstone of many builds. You press reload, bullets shoot out. Great. The bullets do get your synergy though, and it also fires wherever your JimBot is if you have JimBot. So that combination is like probably overpowered, maybe. It's hard to use, but it's very strong. And so at some point in a run, what you do is you just jump to summon your Emerald Anti-Curses, you shoot across a room to try to clear the initial enemies, and then you just start spamming reload to save ammo, because otherwise things are too tanky. So it's like the most ammo efficient thing in the game. It's really good. And that's the end of the ones that I'm actually going to rate. Now, if I can get the other ones added, I will. There's like some power-ups. There's an upgrade bundle, there's power-up bundle, there's multiple power-up bundles, there's corrupted power-up bundles. All that sort of stuff I think is in the tester builds right now. It might not be live. I'm not sure on that. Oh no, the upgrade must be live. Anyways, upgrade bundles would be like above Spirit Insurance. Power-up bundles would be somewhere in the middle. And then the full heals would be like pretty low. You'd take full heals over a bad power-up, but you probably wouldn't take it over a decent power-up. I hope that's enough of a representation. I don't want to like change this person's tier list too much, so. Yeah. I think that covers it all. Feel free to let me know if you've got any questions or comments, and thank you all for watching. Have a wonderful day.